Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm discerning. I shall see what's going on a lovely island of Fawnhallow today. Is the music too loud? I don't really know. I don't know. I don't really have a good segue in this intro. I don't think I ever do. I don't think I really have a compelling intro a lot of the time. So it's a wonder that some people even click on these videos in the first place to even watch them. But hey, if you are one of those people, represent, gang, or whatever they say. Well, what is it? Like something gang rise up. Is that even a thing? Sorry, no, that's gamers rise up. Wait, hold on. I don't know. So someone had to comment on it once, and I was like, oh, I have no idea what this is. It's like notification squad or something. Represent squad, not gang. Okay. Anyway, hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow, it's 4:40 p.m. on Wednesday, February 9th, 2022. We got some advice. So if you find someone washed up on the beach, that is Gadavar or Gadavar. We don't really know until we know. That I don't know. That wasn't a very good sentence. But full of good sentences today. What did I think about today? I was thinking about the fact today I was eating an apple, and it's different to the apples I normally eat as a snack. Normally, I have red gala as apples. Ooh, whoa. Is it very framey for you, or is it just me? It might be because I'm uploading some Death Door things in the background. I'm going to hope it's just for me and not for you. I do have a lot of Firefox tabs open, to be fair as well, and that's probably just due in part. It's more than I have per usual. I have a lot of random things open. Like I got my Google Docs open. We got like a like little writing club, I suppose, tomorrow. Not I suppose, for sure tomorrow. I haven't finished the writing. Pecan, you look stylish as ever. So I was just trying to see if I got inspiration. Didn't have as much inspiration this time for this one, but it's getting somewhere. No, I was eating an apple, and it's different because I usually have red guard apples. So I feel like what's at least in UK, maybe in England, maybe it's different in different parts of UK. I don't know. It's a very sort of just standard apple, the red Garda apple. But this one isn't red Garda, it's Pink Lady. And honestly, I think, I've talked about this a few times. I think I'm like taste blind or something. Not that I can't taste the difference between things. I know when I'm eating this Pink Lady apple, I'm like, this I think is different from red Garda apple. But then if you ask me to describe how is it different, what makes it different, is it like sweeter, tartar, sour, something? I know it's got a different texture. I'm just like, I have no idea. I'm just eating it and I'm like, this is invoking a different sensation than a red Garda apple. But I have no idea why, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I still don't know. And I think about it even more because I'm not going to say I don't care about flavour for food. That's complete nonsense. I do care about flavour to a certain extent, but I don't think I care about flavour as much as the average person might do, which is actually perhaps a little bit strange to hear, because apparently when I was a lot younger I was a very, very picky eater, and nowadays I'm just like, oh, I just eat literally anything, and I don't care. Does it taste bad? Maybe, I don't know, but it's food in the end, I suppose. And that's not to say I can't appreciate nice food. It's not like I go to a fancy restaurant and eat nice food and be like, oh, this means nothing to me. I just like, the amount of appreciation I get from it, I suppose, is not as much compared to the other person. And I often chalk it up to the fact that I don't tend to remember what food tastes like very well. It tastes for some reason is a very different sensation of me trying to recollect it compared to my other senses. Like when I imagine, these both look like fake ones. So we're just going to clear out this Mona. Yeah, that's definitely a fake Mona Lisa. When I try and recollect like a memory, like a visual memory, for some reason, obviously because it's a different sense, me recollecting it feels very different from me trying to recollect what a taste tastes like. When I recollect what a taste tastes like, it's much more me basically reconstructing it in my mind, being like, oh, okay, like if I'm trying to imagine, I know, what does lasagna taste like? It's like, okay, I know what sort of like a tomato tastes like, and then okay, if it's in a bolognese, and then there's a pasta sheet, and then some cheese, that sounds about right, and then I just like smush it all together in my mind. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what lasagna tastes like in my mind, as opposed to something like I'm trying to remember my first day of school. I just remember it. It's just there. I can just remember the moment it happened, and there's no need to like construct it. It just sits there. It's sort of like the difference between like I suppose like if my brain was like, hey, recollect lasagna memory, and then like my brain just goes like looks through its folders being like, okay, what's part of lasagna? Okay, it's got these some ingredients, this is what I have like a baseline level ingredients of things I remember, and sort of tries to stitch it together and be like, okay, this is probably what lasagna tasted like to you. But when it comes to these memories, it's just like the actual things I've got in like the filing cabinet or my brain is just literally the video or the picture of whatever I was trying to recollect. So yeah, I don't know. I always chalked up my, I don't have like okay, I do kind of have a disinterest in food. Well, okay, I'm trying to think how to phrase it, because if I phrase it wrong, you're going to be like, I hate food. No, I don't hate food. I'm just like very impartial to it. You know, food is food, I suppose. I see it much more just like sustenance, just like a base level sustenance, compared to the a lot of other people who see it like a delight or wonder, a treat, you know, a luxury. Well, okay, food shouldn't be a luxury, but you know, eating certain types of food, certain could be counted as a luxury, but that's not really where I was going with this. It's sort of like, I often just do this comparison. If you wanted to treat me to something, you should not treat me out to like a nice dinner or anything. You should treat me to an experience, because I will like that about 10 times more. Like, if you wanted to treat me, you're like, oh, I'm gonna take you to Gordon Ramsay's top restaurant. I'd be like, oh, that's actually kind of cool, but it's only cool because of experience, not because of the food. I don't have anything against Gordon Ramsay. He's a fantastic cook, as far as I know. It's just, I don't know, food experiences. It's not the taste which really, like, I don't latch onto the taste as much, and I don't really know why. I think it's just, you know, one of those nuances of a brain, of that sort of thing. Which is why I find it always so funny when I talk to my parents and they're like, oh yeah, you were like a really picky eater when you were younger. Because I have memories of being a picky eater when I was younger. I didn't like eating certain things, but I think a lot of it was due to texture. I don't like certain food textures when I was younger, but now, you know, I'm growing older, I just sort of like got used to it, or kind of don't really care anymore, might be a more apt way to put it. There's very few foods where I eat it and I'm like, you know, this texture I actively dislike. I think the only ones I can really think of is some mushrooms I don't like the texture of. Like, sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm not here for a button mushroom texture, but I do like the taste of mushrooms, believe it or not. Yeah, so certain mushrooms are better than others. I think, you know, chestnut greater than button, maybe. Trying to think of some other ones. Enoki's quite nice. I'm not really an expert in mushrooms. I'm also not really an expert in food, mind you, either, which is interesting as well. It's also interesting on holidays, because, you know, I went to Japan and Korea with a friend, and he's really like into food. He likes food a lot, so, you know, the restaurants, I'm sure the food we ate was such a big part for him, but I'm sort of like, oh, I don't really care what we eat. I'm more care about like the sites we visit, the places we go to see, and the things we do. And it's a nice sort of thing where, you know, we get a nice sort of balancing act. Like, because I don't care about what food we eat, I'm perfectly fine eating whatever food. Most of the time. There was, like, he really liked this one sushi place. It's in Shibuya. It was called, let me think, Uobe Sushi, I think. And he wanted to eat there, like, literally, like, 6 days in a row. And I was like, okay, we can't eat there 6 days in a row, but we can certainly eat there, like, 5 out of 6 days or something like that. And it was nice, you know. I ate it and I was like, it's inoffensive. It's just tasty, I guess. But, you know, even now, I'm just like, it's not something which sits on the top of my mind of like the cool stuff we did in Japan. Spin. I don't understand why this one doesn't spin. I just had to skip it out every single time, and I look like an utter fool. But, you know, the more I get older and more I taste things, and, you know, listen to other people's comparisons and very expensive food and that sort of thing, I'm just like, I think I'm like a sub-taster. You know, there's like super tasters who can taste like every single thing in a meal, and they taste something and be like, oh, there's a bit like hints of saffron, or like I can tell a tablespoon of cinnamon was ever used, and I like eat it and I'm like, it's food. Like it like, I don't know. Like, sometimes when people are like, how's the food? I'm just like, of course, in the social session, I'm like, oh yes, delicious, because yeah, it's nice and that sort of thing. And people are like, oh, can you tell what special thing I used in that? I'm like, nope. I have no idea what you used. If it's something I eat often, I can tell, I suppose, when it's different. You know, there have been times where, you know, when I was younger, I was eating food and my parents, and, you know, I was eating the food that my parents cooked, and I was like, hey, something about this tastes different, but I don't know what, and I don't know in what way it tastes different. I just know that something strange has happened to it. Not necessarily in a bad way. I don't really know what to make of that. Because I think it's a bit too easy to be like, oh, you know, I just don't taste food and that sort of thing, which is not entirely true. I do have taste buds, but I'm not going to say they're like ultra refined or anything. But they are there. I can taste things, and I suppose it's more I can compare differences in sensations, but I can't. My taste buds are like blind. They don't know what the difference is. You get me? I'm trying to think of an analog in like a different sense. So like, it'd be like if I'm listening to a different piece of music, I can tell something is about to change. Maybe like its pitch has changed, or the rhythm of it's changed, like the speed, the tempo, that's the word, the tempo, or maybe the volume of it has changed, but I don't know what's changed. But they're all like, they all merge together into just, this is a different sensation. It's weird. So yeah, I was thinking about this Pink Lady apples, and I remember because it's something which is often discussed, like, oh, what's the best, not often discussed, I've seen discussions about it, it's probably what I should say, what is the best apple flavour, etc, etc. And I had like a flashback that people didn't like Pink Lady apples, but I don't remember why. And I was eating this Pink Lady apple, I was like, it just tastes like an apple to me. I mean, it tastes different, certainly from red gala. I think if you gave me an apple after like me eating red gala apples like 10 days in a row, I'd be like, hey, is this one like a different type of apple? Something about it tasted off, not off, but like different. And then, you know, I'd be like, oh wow, you know, you got sharp taste buds. What do you think it is? You think it's like sweeter or sour or tart? And I'm like, literally, I have no idea. Perhaps a better way to put it is like, what if my brain encodes all the tastes? So, you know, it gets encoded into like a number string or something. Think of it like that. But I can't decode it again. Does that make sense? So I can compare the two numbers and be like, they're different, and I'd be like, what part of it's different? Don't know. Just is. Something about it just not doesn't sit right. That makes it seem a lot worse than it is, but you get me. Oh, we should probably harvest some young spring bamboo while we're here. Sorry about that little bit of a pause. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, me being taste blind. There was probably a word for it, not being able to taste things or something. Well, okay. No, it's more like I'm unable to process it? No, sort. But the way I store taste, I suppose, in my brain is just very strange. I suppose it's even more strange because I like to think I have a pretty decent memory, and my visual memory pretty good, my audio memory also pretty good. So why is my taste memory so bad? Or maybe it's not bad. I don't really know. Like, this is where you get into the realm of how does the brain work? And I was gonna say psychology. I'm not really sure if it's a psychology thing. It might be a psychology thing. I'm not really sure how those areas of science quite overlap, but it gets into sort of like wishy-washy self-descriptions and self-evaluations, which, you know, there isn't like some sort of empirical scientific method of like testing how well my taste buds, not my taste buds, but how well my brain like processes taste and that sort of thing. It's just, you know, you can only really talk about the sort of experience that you've had in front of you. And I wonder if it's a sort of like a chicken and egg situation. Is it because I've never had such an interest in food that I tend to not remember taste all that well because my brain has like deemed it as lower priority information, or is it because the other way around, because for some reason my brain has just deemed taste memories as lower priority information, which resulted in me not caring as much about food? When I say I don't care as much about food, it's not like I like to clarify, it's not I can't enjoy good food, but it's also in the situation where it's just like, oh, you know, if it's a dystopian future for most people, I suppose, and everyone is just basically drinking these like tiny like weird liquid slurry or something to get their nutrients in, I'm like, I'm fine with that, to be perfectly honest. Like, if I had to give up one of my senses, taste is certainly the first one to go. But to be fair, I think taste is probably the first one to go for most people, because I think for most people are relying on taste the least, I think, in most everyday life, because you only use it for like a couple of hours, I suppose, every single day. I mean, certainly I suppose you could argue that you use some of your other senses even less on certain days, but for me personally, I would easily drop taste. I would certainly drop it in favour of other things as well. Like if they were like, would you give up your ability to taste if it meant that you could be perfectly fine sleeping only like 2 hours every single night or something? I'd be like, absolutely. That seems like a worthwhile trade in my mind. Even if it was like, oh, you'd be perfectly like sleeping for 5 hours is equivalent of you sleeping for like 9 hours or something. I'd be like, that's pretty good as well, you know. Because presumably it scales, because then sleeping for 3 hours would be like me sleeping for 5 hours, which is not great, but, you know, it's fine. Trying to think what other things I trade. Obviously I wouldn't do it for like other things, but maybe it's because, you know, I do wear glasses. My sight's not that great in the first place. Maybe I'm like, oh, you know, you learn to evaluate a little bit more. I don't really know. I don't think it's any of these things. I think it's just because I don't really care that much about. No, I'm more indifferent to tastes than most other things. But yeah, I mean, I think about this a lot because it's you know, like wine. I certainly do like a good drink of wine, you know, in moderate amounts and healthy amounts. You know, sticking to the recommended amounts. And I don't really drink out that often. I only drink in social situations and that sort of thing. My family is quite into wine and that sort of thing, but I don't really understand the taste differences between wine. If you give me, the way I always put it would be like, if you give me 2 different wines and you told me to taste one and taste the other and be like, are they same or different? I could probably tell if they're the same or different, as long as it's not like an extremely subtle change. I'm not a sommelier or whatever. I'm not an expert, but like for 2 things where you expect the average person to be able to tell the difference, I'd be like, yeah, I can tell the difference. But then if you ask me, hey, what is the difference? I'd be like, I have no idea. You know, sweeter, drier, tannous, more full-bodied. I don't even know what those mean. I just know they are terms. I could not tell you, I suppose, if something, the difference between these 2 wines. But it's not like I'm not aware of what those differences are. Well, okay, wine is a bad example because I am actually just genuinely not aware. I don't know what tannous means. I don't know what full-bodied means. When people say the wine is spicy, I'm just like, I don't really know. And especially things like hints of chocolate or hints like certain fruits, I'm like, legitimately, I have no idea what the heck you're talking about. I'm just here to drink and be like, do I like this or do I not like this? It's a very surprisingly binary system, I suppose, for me. And most of the time isn't I like it or I dislike it, it's more like I'm rather indifferent to the entire thing. Let me think what I was going to say next. There's something else I was going to say, I can't remember though. But yeah, it's not like I don't know what something which tastes sweeter than something else tastes like. I've eaten foods and been like, wow, this tastes extremely salty or something. And I know what an extremely salty thing tastes like. And so I just got some Discord messages. I have no idea what the heck this is. I've got no clue, but you know, I can determine what on earth is going on later. Yeah, what was I saying? Like, I've had things before and I've been like, wow, this is definitely really sweet. Or, you know, I've had eaten some food and be like, oh, this is like really salty for some reason. But I don't know, if it gets more abstract than just like sweet, salty, bitter, sour, then if it becomes like a sort of weird mix, I'm just like, don't know. You give me something and be like, what's a special ingredient of this? I'll be like, I legitimately don't know. I don't know what like half the herbs, not even half. I probably could not tell you what like 90% of like herbs and spices even taste like. I'm trying to think how I would. I could probably tell you what cinnamon tastes like, and I have no idea why, because I don't even have cinnamon that often. I could tell you what garlic tastes like. The others, I'm a bit of a loss. Soy sauce, I could. Again, I know these aren't like herbs and spices, but you know what I mean, like these sort of like supplementary things that you put for seasoning or flavouring options onto something. Tell you what soy sauce looks like. Not looks like. Well, I mean, I could tell you what it looks like, but I mean, tastes like. Or at least, I couldn't describe it. I have no idea how people describe taste. I have no idea how I describe soy sauce. Like salty, I guess. But it feels like it's not particularly like encompassing of what it actually tastes like. But you know, I can imagine what the taste of soy sauce is. I can imagine what the taste of kind of what the taste of ginger is. But I have no idea about a lot of other things. What does cumin taste like? Legitimately no clue. What does... I guess chili powder I can kind of imagine. Which chili powder am I imagining? Have no idea. Have we found who our crafter is? I don't think we found whoever's been crafting today. We also need to find Gulliver/Gulliver. Do I know what rosemary tastes like? Nope. Sage? I don't think so. Basil? I think I can imagine what basil tastes like. I think. Mint? Maybe? I feel like I can imagine what mint ice cream tastes like, I think. Wow, but this is enlightening. I actually really don't know what things taste like. I have no idea what so many of these herbs taste like. I'm trying to think of some other herbs as well, but I can't actually think of many off the top of my head. Oregano or oregano, depending how you describe it. Legitimately no idea. In my mind, you know, I group things like rosemary, sage, oregano, and all those things. They're all exactly on the same. What is this? Febby, if you and me went to an amusement park, which ride would you try? Absolutely roller coaster. I would try all 3 of these. We sound like a whale of a time. A roller coaster hat is a great for just screaming away all your stress, but I can't scream too much, it'll ruin my beautiful singing voice. Mood. I don't scream really that much on roller coasters and that sort of thing. I actually end up like laughing quite giddily on roller coasters. It just must be an utterly psychotic sight, I think, for a lot of people to see, but I just have fun on those sort of thrill rides. Anyway, I talked about roller coasters before. Go search up Animal Crossing Day, I don't know, 471. It's probably about roller coasters. If that's the actual day, I'm going to be shocked. No, yeah. I know. I guess for the basic taste buds, maybe it's because it's something which was taught to us in school, you know. And of course, there's the myth about being like, oh, you know, certain parts of your tongue can only taste certain things, which is not true. You can easily test it yourself if you just like put a sweet on the back of your tongue. You'll be able to taste it. But it's like maybe that's why I know what they taste like, because it was taught to me at a younger age. I compartmentalized it and was like, all right. These are the only tastes in the world, and thus I will never need any other taste again. And then, you know, umami was introduced. I was like, what the heck is umami? I still don't really know what umami is. Which, you know, I'm kind of fine. It's not, I don't work with, like, food or anything. And, you know, the craziest part is, at least I'm known within, like, family and friends, I suppose, that I'm a pretty decent baker. Which is weird, because, you know, I don't really care about food all that much, and I don't even eat, like, the baked treats I bake a lot of the time. I don't, and I talked about this before, I don't really have as much of a sweet tooth. You know, perhaps this is why, because, you know, I'm rather impartial to a lot of foods. But I feel like, being an okay baker is not that hard, is my 2 cents about it. Just follow recipes, exactly, and you'll be completely fine, is my sort of 2 cents about it. I don't see myself as a particularly good cook or anything, though. I feel like I'm passable. Like, you would taste my food and be like, yep, that's edible. And be like, yep, this is inoffensive, I suppose. It's not, like, crazy out there or anything. But, I don't think I'm particularly... You wouldn't eat my food and be like, whoa, this is, like, the best thing I've ever tried. Wow, like, you're really good there at cooking food. I'm just like... I just cook, and then I just eat it. It sounds so robotic. I promise I'm not that robotic all the time. Just in regards to food, apparently. Yeah, I could not tell you why. It just is what it is, I suppose. Food just does not hold that special place in its heart for me. Which you might say is a little bit disheartening, if anything. Isn't it a little bit sad? You know, what if you, like, marry a chef in the future or something, and they cook you a fantastic meal or something, and you just look at me like, meh. Obviously, I'm not going to just be like, meh. I'm going to be, food, even if the taste doesn't appeal to me as much, if someone, like, specially made me a meal, that speaks so much to me. That will enhance the flavour, or enhance the sensation which is tied up with the meal in the first place. So you don't need to worry about that little thing, I suppose. Emotions and stuff put into food, like, I suppose actions, I suppose, behind it, is the tastiest part of a meal for me. If I'm trying to put it in some very weird poetic way. Where is Gulliver? He must be on the right side of the island, but I thought I checked the right side of the island. I might not have checked the upper right area, now I think about it. Or I might have checked it, but I might have just completely ignored him, for all I know. But I'm pretty sure... I think Isabel talked about Gulliver being on the... Oh, yeah, there you are. Gulliver. I didn't check the middle bit. Yeah, I don't know. But I also, like, you know... I'm not, like, that much of... someone who, like, loves meat and that sort of thing. But I think that's also a good example. Could I really tell you the differences between the meats? Not really. I think if I eat them, I can certainly tell some apart. I can certainly tell chicken apart from pork. But it's something like with mince, you know. Like pork mince and beef mince, I don't know what the difference is. Maybe if I eat chicken mince, I might not know the difference either. I think a lot of my discerning ability might perhaps be tied up in texture as well. I'm not really sure. I need to do like a blind taste test. I think I'd be utterly atrocious, and that might be quite amusing in the first place. Or maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. It's really hard to determine. Just, you know. But not determine. It's really hard to guess, I suppose, what I would or wouldn't be good at in this sort of thing. But I suppose it's an interesting peer into how my memories work. My sensation-based memory is not particularly good for taste sensations for some reason. I almost want to do a blind food test now. And I'm just imagining that you know, sometimes people do those sort of like blind tests of like food and stuff on the street or whatever. You know, like there's like that famous Coca-Cola and Pepsi one where people were blind tested Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and then on average more people were like on the first sip they were like, I like Pepsi more, but then after finishing the entire drink they were like, I like Coke more. But remember, Pepsi, if you're just having a small amount, tastes better, but then it tastes like too sweet or something. Such that having it in large amounts, Coca-Cola is preferred. That's what I remember. And just imagining them come out to me like, oh, do you want to do a blind taste test? And I'm like, sure. And then, you know, they give me Coke and they give me Pepsi to taste, and I'm like, I literally can't tell the difference between these. Or like, these are both exactly the same to me. I have no sway one way or another. But you know, it's even greater if people can like taste the difference between like Coke and Diet Coke and other things like that. I cannot. They all taste the same to me. But also, I don't have. Oh, I probably should have read out what Pascal says. I apologise, Pascal. I also don't really drink soft drinks or fizzy drinks or whatever you might want to call them. So, yeah. I don't know. So maybe I'm taste blind. Maybe I'm taste unsortable. I'm trying to think of what like words I'm trying to use. And I just got a flashback to the old like. Is it Disney or is it Nickelodeon? I can't remember. Show. I'm fabulous. You better run fabulous. Unbearable. Unflappable. I can't remember how it goes. But it's something like that. You better run fabulous. You better run fabulous. At least I think that was a show. I don't know if I just made it up in my mind or not. Anyway. Where was I going with all of this? I don't know. It's not like the concept of a super taster like blows my mind. Like, how can you super taste things? Like, I'm perfectly capable of like imagining what it'd be like to be in other people's shoes and that sort of thing. But it's almost like, wow. Well, actually, I was gonna be like, wow, I wish I had that ability. Actually, maybe I don't. You know? I think it'd be a worse combination being like, oh, you know, being a super taster but also not caring about food. You know, I'd much rather give my super taster ability to someone who is like, oh, you know, I love food, but unfortunately I can't discern between different tastes all that much, but I still love it. You know, and I'd be like, wow, you deserve my super taster ability. It's a shame you can't just like give out abilities like that. It's sort of like you have what you have. Although I suppose you could train it, right? Can you train your taste abilities? I'd imagine you're able to, right? Otherwise, pro chefs would have worse palates, or like wouldn't on average have better palates. Or I guess maybe it'd be if you had a better palate, you'd be more inclined to be a chef. I don't know. It gets complicated. Anyway, I'm going to round off this episode here because you know, I've kind of lost the plot. But if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join my Dear Darling Discord, follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.